Is N'Zoth coming back? That is the real question. So if you're into WoW lore like me, not counting that expansion, then you are well aware of all the old god speculation that's going around right now. So with the data mining of Neltharion's books, the new N'Zoth whispers in the main campaign quest, we're going to be taking a look at what could unfold in Dragonflight or thereafter.
You have always been mine.
So, with the release of Dragonflight, we were set on a new campaign where we delved into some time shenanigans with Chromie, which was easily my favourite part of the campaign, and yes, it's because of the Murloc timeline. Okay, let's get past that. But at the end of it, we jumped back to the days of the glorious Black Empire, specifically when the Elemental Lords waged war on the Old Gods, which means this was a very long time ago, before the Titans had actually even visited Azeroth, just to give you a scope of how long ago this actually was. Now, as this event unfolds before us, we're whispered to by four different voices: the Piercing Presence, which is Y'Shaarj; the Observing Presence, which is C'Thun; the Maddening Presence, which is our boy Yogg-Saron; and then finally, the Knowing Presence, which is N'Zoth. Now, we know this because the whispers from the other presences are actually recycled from previous expansions, but what's interesting is the Knowing Presence, N'Zoth. Those whispers are entirely new and quite special, as confirmed in an interview of Steve Danusa, courtesy of Harumared, that Steve Danusa actually wrote these whispers himself as he wanted them to be very specific. So let's take a look at them.
I know you. What you were. What you will yet be. Deeper. Deeper its roots will reach. Welcoming our embrace. With many eyes, they will see again. They will drink and be uplifted. You will follow him to the deep places. The dark waters will flow in his wake. Her dreams sing beneath the surface. Our dreams. Our song.
So, there's a lot of information to explore in these whispers, as there always is with Old God related stuff. However, I'm only going to stick to two in particular, as I believe they're the only ones really related to the subject of this video. It's also important to add that this is all purely speculation, and we have no way of knowing for certain what is actually going to happen. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come. Let's get to the exciting stuff. The first whisper being, I know you, what you were, what you will yet be. This is a particularly juicy whisper, as it has a lot of implications. We've gone back to an ancient primordial Azeroth, an ungodly amount of years before the setting of Dragonflight, and we were recognised. The fact alone that we were recognised is concerning enough, but by N'Zoth nonetheless. So, the Old Gods and void-touched creatures in general have the ability to see all possible futures laid before them, except they don't know which ones will come to fruition, and us going back and having N'Zoth recognise us has very dire implications, as it lets N'Zoth see all the actions that unfolded leading us to this exact moment of travelling back in time. This means that he knows the Titans will come, he knows they'll rip Y'Shaarj out of the face of the planet like a giant zit, he knows he will be imprisoned, and he knows that we will defeat him in Ny'alotha. This obviously means he now has plenty of time to meticulously plan and come out as the victor. As Xal'atath once said,
"It was here, in ages past, that the god of the deep lost a great battle to the god of seven heads. But as was so often the case, even defeat ultimately worked in N'Zoth's favor."
This is extremely relevant, as why would N'Zoth benefit from losing a great battle to Y'Shaarj, the god of seven heads? How would that work in his favour in any way? There's no explanation for this, unless N'Zoth knew that Y'Shaarj would be yoinked from the planet for being the strongest old god, so he purposefully lost a battle to keep his life and continue to plot and scheme. This revelation is It's simply too perfect to not be utilised in some way in the story, and it could definitely contribute to N'Zoth knowing his demise and finding out a way to prevent it. Before we get into the second whisper, I have something I accidentally found whilst researching N'Zoth for this video. It's this voice line from Hearthstone that he says when you play Deck of Chaos.
The future is history rewritten.
I know Hearthstone isn't canon when it comes to the Warcraft universe, but N'Zoth is a bit of a special case, as we actually saw his appearance first in Hearthstone before seeing him in actual World of Warcraft. And this quote is just too fitting to not be mentioned. Like, what does the future is history rewritten even mean? It only makes sense in this exact scenario of us going back in time. Food for thought.
Make your peace, mortals. You will heed the call of the corruptor.
That is the first whisper explored. Now, time for the second. You will follow him to the deep places. The dark waters will flow in his wake. Once again, him could mean anyone. Rathian, Iridikron, it could even mean Dormu if N'Zoth means deep places metaphorically. However, I personally believe this is referring to Iridikron, the Earth incarnate. Iridikron hates the aspects more than anyone, and was said by Alexstrasza to have made dark bargains in an effort to destroy the aspects, which is indirect, but it feels Old God related. There's rumours that in 10.1 we'll be going to an underground zone. I feel like this will involve us following Iridikron down there to defeat him. So, why do I find this whisper relevant? Well, it's because of Iridikron's affinity with the Earth. Much like Deathwing, Iridikron is symbiotic with the Earth, meaning he is exceptionally vulnerable to Old God whispers. Old Gods live in the deep places, so perhaps Iridikron will go deeper to make more dark bargains with perhaps a vestige of N'Zoth. I mean, after all, we know how much N'Zoth loves to make deals. This ties in with the dark waters will flow in his wake. Just to preface this, wake means what is left behind by someone or something, such as the map changes in Cataclysm. They were Deathwing's wake, which leads me even further to believe this quote refers to Iridikron. Dark waters is quite an ambiguous line. There's not much to work with. It could mean the waters that we saw mentioned in the Legacy of Tyr books, where we read, "I hope your investigation into how Yogg-Saron compromised these living waters will yield answers. In the meantime, we can be assured that the evolution of another Galakrond will not be triggered by consuming unfiltered waters." Perhaps Iridikron will unleash an underground source of these corrupted waters, leading to more corruption on the dragons? That's the best I have for these whispers for now. There's plenty more to talk about, but I'll save it for a different video. Moving on to the second part of the video, a book has resurfaced and been discovered via data mining. The Old Gods and the Ordering of Azeroth, annotated. The description reads, an ancient copy transcribed by an unknown hand for Neltharion's private collection. Notes have been scribbled in the margins. This book has been around for a while, since vanilla actually, so it's hard to divulge whether the information is canon or not, as it does mention the Pantheon chained the 5 evil gods far beneath the surface of the world, while we only know of 3 being chained and 1 being ripped out, Y'Shaarj, so take this part with a grain of salt. Regardless, this book has re-emerged, now annotated with what is essentially hate comments, possibly written by Neltharion himself. There is a lot to go through in this book, though I'll stick to one page in particular, as it could involve N'Zoth. The page reads as follows. The Titans empowered a number of races to help them fashion the world, to help them carve out the fathomless caverns beneath the earth. The Titans created the dwarf-like earthen from magical living stone, to help them dredge out the seas and lift the land from the sea floor. The Titans created the immense but gentle sea giants. For many ages, the Titans moved and shaped the earth, until at last, there remained one perfect continent. A note has been scribbled on the page. The author of this tome is either a liar or a fool. Were they truly ignorant of that which lies beyond the waves, or were they merely commanded to spread Titan propaganda? Okay, so there's a lot to discuss there. Recently we've learned that a group of Titan Keepers, or heretics, left the other keepers and travelled to a place called Avaloran. Fun fact, this name is a reference to Avalon, a mythical island in the legend of King Arthur. Multiple expeditions were sent after them, but none successful, as it was stated their defences were too strong. So what lies beyond the waves? It's most likely Avaloran, but could it be Old God corrupted? Perhaps a final vestige of the Black Empire that the Titans simply couldn't eradicate? Or maybe that's where Xal'atath went after the Crucible of Storms? It's impossible to say for certain right now, but I felt it was significant enough to be mentioned at least. This video is already getting too long, so I'll leave it at that, and I'll make a new video on Neltharion's book if that's what you guys would like, so please let me know in the comments below. To conclude, I'll give some of my thoughts on what I think is going to happen personally. Overall, I think N'Zoth was a great villain for WoW, and I think the community as a whole can agree that 8.3 didn't do him justice, and was an unsatisfying end to a villain with such potential. Blizzard likes to use old gods for fertile soil, where they can utilise the ambiguity and mystery later on in the story, and they certainly left a lot in the air with N'Zoth's quote-unquote death. So it's entirely possible that he will have a resurgence, but as much as it pains me to say, I don't think it's likely. I believe he'll have a part to play in the unravelling of the expansion story, but I don't think it will be a major part. What I genuinely think is that the next expansion will be Void vs Light or Order vs Chaos, and they'll utilise Xal'atath and perhaps a new undiscovered old god, depending on how the story plays out. Or, I could be wrong, and it could be option 2. Blizzard are beginning to paint the Titans as zealots, obsessed with order. The letters from Odin even said to cover up any advancements of the Black Empire. It's clear that we're being lied to, and the old gods might not actually be as bad as we were led to believe. So perhaps we still have the gift of N'Zoth, and who knows, we might even be on his side in the future. It's crazy, I know, but how cool would that be? Again, that's just my personal opinion, and I'd love to be wrong, and I'd love to see N'Zoth bring a second coming of the Black Empire, but at this point in time, it is just too difficult to say. So that is it for my N'Zoth video. I don't normally make this kind of content, but I really enjoyed making this video. So if you want to see more, please like, subscribe and comment, and let me know what you'd like to see next. I've still got a lot of stuff to touch on, like the Emerald Nightmare for example, and I'd love to go into that, so yeah, let me know.
Patience.